And we move to item 19, which is our Woodman Sports and Convention Center update. With us is our Public Works Director, Mike Payne.
Good evening, Council. Thank you, Council President Benson. Mike Payne, Public Works Director. So the Woodman Sports and Convention Center update this evening. Wanted to talk a little bit about the design committee. So the design committee has been very busy on this project. We have met 18 times between March of 2022 and April of 2023. Our last meeting, our final meeting as a work group was recently here on April 4th. What we've accomplished over those 18 meetings is we've made it all the way through the schematic design process, which basically looks at the project in kind of blocks of spaces for incorporating elements into the project. And then we transitioned into the design development where we're getting more refined in looking at actual spaces and layout of the designated locations within the building. So we've completed both schematic design and design development. Currently, we are working on construction documents, and we expect that on May 1st, the Plan Commission is going to hold a public hearing for the CUP for the project, so conditional use permit for the project, and that's just another step in the process in moving forward. We expect 90% plans to be available in early May, and we expect to share that document with the design committee in hopes that they'll find time to review that and provide some comments. And then in June, we expect that the design team will be looking at quality control review of the plans and submitting the building plans to the city's consultant, review consultant, which is E-Plan Exam. And then next steps for the project would be in June, we're anticipated to acquire the property at Uptown Janesville along Milton Avenue. And the council will recall that late last year, the certified survey map for the parcel itself went through the Plan Commission and council approval process. So we expect that in June. Then in July, we would be ready to issue bid documents to contractors who would be interested in bidding on the project itself. In August, we would anticipate opening the bids and then returning back to the council in September, where we would expect the council to, we would expect them in anticipation of reviewing the bids that were submitted and taking action to award a construction contract if the council chooses to do so. And then the next step would be in October, once contracts are finalized and insurance certificates have been submitted, we would expect the contractor to mobilize and to start the demolition process on the vacant and former Sears building out front of Uptown Janesville, which is the future home of the Woodman Sports and Convention Center. You heard me speak at the last update about the Woodman Center Community Day that was held on April 1st, and I'd like to thank the Friends Group for initiating that and being involved. And as part of that process, I'd like to thank them for coordinating the event, getting that set up, for bringing the community together to talk about the project, and then educating the public about the project details and the contents of the project. And so this evening, we thought there's nobody better than a couple of the Friends representatives to address the council this evening as part of this update and just hit some of the highlights from that event. So with us this evening, we have Christine Rebout and Sabrina Seiker-Bowerman, and they are going to roll into the second half of the update with some of the fun facts from the recent event. And then at the conclusion of that, we would be happy to answer any questions from the council. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. I am Christine Rebout, Executive Director of the Janesville Convention and Visitors Bureau and co-chair of the Friends of the Woodman Center. We really want to begin our update on our Community Day by thanking the community itself. Their engagement, whether it's someone like Lisa coming to a meeting and talking about their organization, whether it was those who attended and truly engaged in the process, that first thank you really goes out to the community for their engagement in this process and with us through fundraising or other means. I'm going to let Sabrina talk real specifically about the partners for the event.
Yeah, we had, I think, over 2,000 partners, public and private, at this event. And I'll save you the time today. They're listed on our website, woodmancenter.com. We wrote a whole blog about the event, and all of our partners are listed there on our website.
We're going to talk real specifically now about the event, and really, that's real small print for you, I'm sorry, but our real goals for the event were that opportunity for public to ask questions and provide feedback. We've had people say, I don't know enough about the project, or I only know what I've read, or quite often it's their conversation with me in Century or Target about the project. So we really wanted to bring it all into one place for that opportunity to ask questions and provide feedback. We also created some mock spaces to showcase activities that could happen there, whether it was pickleball lessons or adult recreation through hockey, Special Olympics. But for me, one of the best areas was really a showcase of all of the drawings of the facility. That was the section I happened to work. So we had 18 feet of trade show booth set up with diagrams of the space set for 18 pickleball courts, for 6 basketball courts, for meeting and convention space, for just one speaker, for trade show. Those diagrams really allowed us to have those deep conversations with people. We literally, someone would walk into the mall, I would walk them to that wall, start beginning to end, and give them a real full understanding of the complex and talk with them about how they could use it. So that really, that setup and design of those mock spaces was really important to the project.
Yeah, and I'd like to add another thing that was a focus of the Friends of the Woodman Center and our partners was to get that community feedback, look at the data, and present that here to you today. So we'll be sharing some questions that people had, some comments, and other feedback that people had about the Woodman Center in general. Also, I want to add is that we had over 1,500 people at the mall that day. The mall manager said she can't remember the last time the mall was so busy. We had some mall vendors who were actually part of our event too, and they're very happy to see there and very enthusiastic about the future.
So when we talk about really who was there and what we saw, we had again over 1,500 in attendance, and really great individual kind of conversations that took place. Guided tours, we walked the Gazette through. We did just some really interactive things there. It was really just that chance to have those private conversations and a lot of follow-up. I took names and phone numbers for 5 different individuals who wanted to talk more about specifically how they would use the facility. We didn't want anyone to walk away saying, I didn't get my questions answered or I didn't find what I needed to know.
So we're going to go through a couple of those questions, comments, and concerns right now, and of course take time to answer any questions that any of you guys might have tonight. One of the main questions is, what is a Woodman Center and what will be included in this facility? Oftentimes we found there's a misconception in the community. People think, oh, this is an ice arena and that's it, and people walk away realizing this is so much more. This is a community resource for me and my neighbors and my family and everyone that I know.
We also saw questions about the timeline for the project. A lot of people just, don't have that background information, what it costs to design a project. What we mean by design, they might just think we're drawing that first diagram instead of really laying out what materials are included and everything for that design to build. We also heard what other changes will take place at the mall. They were really interested. One of a popular diagram was that of the Uptown Mall diagram that really talks about what else could happen at that facility.
Yeah, and that really serves to motivate and inspire people on what's going at the mall and how this can affect them personally, how they see themselves in the facility and the changes, not just here at the mall, but all the up and down Milton Avenue. As part of the EDA grant, I got to speak with local businesses about that. So I spoke to a local restaurant owner who said, if this goes in, I'm adding catering to my menu, and I'll need a catering van and a catering manager. And so we're able to quantify then how many jobs are created in this community, how much capital investment that owner would put into their business.
We also had concerns about how can I use this facility? Is it really for everyone? And that was really a great opportunity to talk to people and help them understand how we can help to fill the facility. When I sell Janesville from a tourism aspect, one of our biggest campaigns is the idea of bring your meetings home. The idea that all of us are going somewhere else to go to meetings, and we really want those meetings to be held here in Janesville. So whether it was talking to someone about a veterans fair or a senior fair or a fishing expo, all those things that we love to do and we're going somewhere else to do, now we can start to think about how do we bring those things into our community and show off our community, just like Lisa spoke of, how do we take our pride for Janesville and turn it into filling this facility?
Yeah, to that same point, another common concern is how can my organization use this facility specifically, will we have access to it? And I think what Lisa laid out today with the Special Olympics and how they plan on using the facility is a really great example on how we can connect with other organizations and explain to them how this facility could help them.
And then just roll some of the specific comments that we heard. Again, I worked the front area where the display board was, and there was a gentleman came about 20 minutes before we started. He was 84 years old. He was excited to come and get the information. And when he came, I said, I'm not supportive of this ice arena. I said, well, let me show you more. Walked up to the first diagram of the 3 sections and explained to him what was there, talked about what he had done before he retired. By the time we completed that 18-foot of wall and talked through things, he said, I'm in so support of this project, I can't wait to help bring things here. So it really was just, explaining to them, and we heard a lot of, wow, this is so much more than I understood it was. We also really had people appreciate the renderings and the visuals. I think we're all visual thinkers, and when we talk about convention space, it's hard to envision. It's hard to envision why what we have isn't enough space. So we had a lot of people saying they appreciate it, and they really liked being walked through it and having that time. I easily spent, 25 minutes with that first gentleman, but that's what he needed to understand the project. So we also stayed later than we intended to for the event. 1 o'clock was our end time. It was easily, I don't know, Chief, you were there, it was easily 2:30 when we were done and out of the area. So we took as much time as people needed to really talk about the project and offered them the ability to follow up through our website or social media, and handed out plenty of business cards to talk more about the facility.
We received an amazing amount of feedback both before and after the event on our Facebook page for the Friends of the Woodman Center. We had now on that Facebook page 950 followers. We have a new Instagram page which is growing quickly with a lot of support for this project. And in the lifetime of our Facebook page, which was launched on February 1st, we've had over 34,000 unique interactions to the page. That audience by demographic is 67% Janesville, 7% Milton, 7% Beloit, and 17% other.
And you can just see some of the comments that we see on the Facebook page, people who are really finally getting that opportunity to talk about the project, to see what's available and interact with us. And that continues, on a daily basis. We really can have that exchange of information with them. Again, if you have additional questions, comments, our future outreach plans include continuing that website. We do a blog weekly. We have guest writers come in. People talk about those things. Facebook, we now have Instagram launched. We also want to continue those connections with local organizations and presentations. Sabrina, you've talked to 2,000 people. She's on the road multiple times a week talking to service clubs, individual groups, organizations. We'll also keep looking for locations to do what we did at the mall, those pop-up locations for information. We'd like to take those boards, maybe put them in a window at Uptown Janesville so you can see that information that was created. And just continue gathering ideas, supports, answering questions. We really don't want there to be misconceptions or to people feel that they're in the dark. Our goal is really to share that information and to continue to engage the community in the process.
Yeah, I'll add, it is my greatest privilege that I get to be out in the community talking to people about this project, hearing stories of everyone from old to young, what they're excited about. And I'll echo what Christine said. Please visit our website, woodmancenter.com, read our blogs, and share your story with us.
Questions, our contact information is here. Again, woodmancenter.com. Again, reach out to me. We can connect you with Sabrina. Please don't ever feel your questions are unanswered or you're not being heard, because that's our goal, is to really share that information. And we'll gladly entertain any questions from council.
Any questions? Councilmember Miller?
I just have one, and I don't know if maybe this has been addressed yet. Have we decided who or how this will be operated?
Want to take that, Mike?
We have not decided what the final decision is going to be for who or how this will be operated. I believe there's a desire by staff to explore a third-party operator, and we've talked about that probably the appropriate time to to issue an RFP would be after the council takes action for potentially awarding construction contracts. Once we know the project is moving forward into construction, we know that we have 14 or 15 months to before we can get occupancy and occupy that, and we believe that that's sufficient time then in exploring those opportunities.
Councilmember Jackson.
I have a question for you, Mike. Thank you for all your work, and for you guys as well. Thank you. When do you anticipate our having a definitive date where we know this thing is going to go forward and the council acts on it? We're talking about tearing down the building in October.
Yep. So we are tentatively scheduled to come back before the council at the September 11 council meeting. And if the council chooses to award a construction contract to the low bidder on September 11, then we anticipate that it would take about 2 weeks to get the construction contracts executed and finalized, and to get the insurance in place, and to allow the successful low bidder to put up security fencing around the perimeter of the site and start making provisions for demolition of the vacant former Sears building starting at some point mid to late October.
Okay. Any update on the finances then? I think that all of us are waiting with bated breath to hear that the money has come in. How much are we lacking? I know we lost a $4 million grant. Where are we at financially?
So financially, I believe the Friends Group is still active and I'll allow the Friends to speak to that. We have talked in the past about, as a nonprofit organization, they are potentially eligible for funding sources that the city would not be eligible for. So they are pursuing those avenues. The $15 million amount from the state of Wisconsin, we believe will be finalized in August. And we still feel very positively about the momentum and the conversations that staff have had with the governor's office there. So still pursuing opportunities and still doing work there, and I'll allow Christine to comment on where she's at as well.
From a private fundraising place, we are at $6.9 million, and I expect to make a jump over that $7 million mark later this week. We had a very successful fundraising event last week. We have also engaged with some grant writing services to look for those grants that, again, is hard for the city to grab as a municipality, but with a nonprofit, and we've worked on that nonprofit status to allow us to engage in some of those additional grants and funding opportunities.
Thank you, Kristen.
Councilmember Williams.
Mike, just to clarify, the city's going to acquire the property in June. However, from what I remember, if we don't get the 15 million and we don't replace the 4 million, or if the bids come in, who knows, too high, that property can transfer back to Uptown Mall, right? It's not, it doesn't, I just wanted to clarify that for
That is
viewers
correct.
of that.
Yes,
So
that is correct.
even if we acquire the property in June, if all the ducks aren't in a row, it can go back to Uptown Mall and it's not on the burden of the
Yes,
taxpayers.
in fact, it will revert back. If the Woodman Center does not move forward, it will revert back to Rockstep Capital, the owner, the current
Yeah,
owner.
I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none. Thank you, everyone.